What's up, amigos? So today is the day that the mega patch finally dropped. This is the patch that they have been teasing and that everyone has been waiting on since they announced it in the campfire stream. Patch 1.0.3. Now, this brings a lot of different things. A lot. It is just, I mean, you can see I'm scrolling, and then we finally get to the class changes. I'm not going to go over all of these bug fixes. There are a bunch though. Now, one of the more common ones that people have been complaining about are the Necromancer problems, and the only thing that I see is this right here. Fix an issue where corpse tendrils would cause the corpse visual to disappear. I am fairly certain this isn't what people have been complaining about. They have been complaining about the visibility on the ground when they're using corpse explosion. I think blighted corpse explosion. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong down in the comments down below, but yeah, I have not seen that anywhere in these patch notes, so hopefully we get to see that before season 1, because I think they actually promised us that we would see that before season 1. Everyone was expecting it to come out in this patch, but I guess they just ran into some problems. Now, what I think is really cool also is this section right here. They actually came out and just addressed a lot of issues that was happening during local co-op play. This is really cool. All right, believe it or not, there are a lot of people who decide to play on console with their significant other, whether it's, you know, parents playing with their kids. I think this is really cool of them. So good on you, Blizzard, for actually caring about that scene. There was a bunch of quest bugs that were halting progression that they stopped as well. And then this just a long list of UI changes. I'll leave a link to the patch notes in the description down below. You can read all this stuff for yourself. Again, it would just make the video from a 10-minute video to a 20 to 30-minute video. I don't want to do that. The one thing to note from the miscellaneous section, which they try, I don't know why they try to hide this all the time, but various stability, performance, and visual improvements across all platforms. I really hope this is just pertaining to the zones that were extra laggy and just slogged because of just the mass amount of people abusing the event loop, abusing Ruins of Eridu. Those zones were still really bad. Now let's just hop right into it. The biggest thing to take away from this patch is the changes to Nightmare Dungeons that they were talking about in the campfire stream. So, we finally get them. Significantly increase the experience awarded for completing and from killing monsters in Nightmare Dungeons. This is huge, alright? Nightmare Dungeons before just felt so lackluster, like just a giant slog to just farm. I do want better rewards. I know that sounds like a lot, but I feel like I get sacreds from high tier 50s way too often for my completion reward. I think you should be guaranteed ancestral items. Maybe I'm just crazy for thinking that, but this is a huge step in the right direction. Don't get me wrong, I love these changes. XP is something that people have been complaining about constantly. Now here's another thing that actually was a surprise to me. I wasn't even aware that HELLTIDES chests gave you XP to begin with when you open them, but now we gain a substantially more bonus XP, it says, when opened. So that's a huge W, I think, because I, for one, that is my favorite activity. There's something about HELLTIDES that is just so satisfying when you're open world farming, especially with friends, just blowing everything up with a clear goal in mind. And that goal is just farm a mysterious chest. Maybe, you know, somehow popping open a chest and pulling a Harlequin. You know, it's the thrill of it, I think. Significantly increased reward experience from completing individual whispers across the board. Maybe this just gives, you know, players an extra incentive to actually doing the whispers. I honestly don't even target them. If it happens, it happens. I actually complete majority of my tree just from doing HELLTIDES. Out and about, just randomly completing the rewards, and I'm like, oh look, I have a cache that I can turn in. Now to the general section. The HELLTIDE Roman bosses will now drop consistently higher quality loot. I think this is also really cool. I am one of those people who take my time, or go out of my way rather, to kill the bug. The assassin bug in the HELLTIDE, the big boss. I think he has like 7 phases, if I'm not mistaken. But, you know, Twisted Blade rogues, you can just tear through them real fast. But aside from just the amount of mats that you get for killing him, he is pretty lackluster. But hopefully, we'll start seeing better loot like they state here. Now, the biggest thing about this patch, again, was the Nightmare Dungeon changes, and this quality of life, it cannot go unheard. Players can now teleport to their Nightmare Dungeon directly through the map. This just, no more downtime, alright? No more just trying to you know, map out where do I go, where do I teleport, go to here, here, and then go through here. I mean, it's none of that. All right, this is a huge quality of life addition to the game that a lot of people are pretty excited for, including myself. And then we have the weekly bonus caches from world bosses no longer have a level requirement, and I think it was level 80, which is just crazy. A lot of my friends, even, they couldn't open any of their caches because they still, you know, a lot of people don't have a ton of time to devote to the game, as people like, you know, myself and other content creators, where we just constantly are grinding. The developer note here is kind of interesting as well. We're currently working on increasing the monster and elite density of endgame content and plan to introduce this change early in season 1. This is really ironic because we just came off of 11 different hotfixes that targeted specifically elite density. Now, with this patch, we also got a lot of balance changes. We're continuing our efforts to make all class builds feel fun and powerful with another round of balance updates. In particular, we have seen community feedback stating that basic skills aren't impactful enough in combat. These changes will not change the fundamental relationship between basic and core skills, but we hope that they help smooth out the level and experience while we explore additional ways to strengthen them. We are also increasing the power of some skills that players feel are lagging behind their peers. So this is them addressing the issue at hand, that a lot of these builds are just set in stone. We don't want cookie cutter like Diablo 3. They want to keep adapting and evolving the game. So, you know, example like Barbarian. Right here is a big change. A 4% damage increase to double swing. This is a skill that a lot of people want to work, but when you just compare it to Whirlwind or Hoda, I mean, it's just, there's clear winners here, okay? And there's clear losers. I mean, there are a lot of builds. I'll take Rogue, for example, because it's the class I go over the most. Unless you run Poison, which Poison right now is broken, all right? And it won't stay this way. Poison is broken. You just can't push. You can't push hierarchy. So these changes, aside, like, we'll ignore the basic skills, but, you know, double swing, kick, charge, leap. I mean, even skills like Iron Skin, like most barbarians, if not all, they're just triple shouting. I think buffing these skills, including like the ultimates here, will change the meta up a little bit, and I think it's exciting to see. Now, we also got confirmation here that has been circulating in the community for a little bit, but it states flat damage legendary aspects. I think it's flat valued aspects in a whole, but they scale with item power. So every class got basic abilities changed, but every class also had aspects changed. Some even had items. So here you can see the list of aspects that were changed: Volcathos, Earthquake, Dust Devil, Windlasher, Devilish, Iron Warrior. They either had damage reduction or damage increases. And then you have your items, Overkill and Hellhammer. I imagine these are uniques. Onto the Druid. Now, Druid had a lot of good changes. Druid is the least played class in Diablo, a tad below Barb. Surprisingly, Barb was the 4th least played class. The top 3 classes are, of course, Sorceress, Rogue, then Necro. So again, ignoring the basic skills here, every class got them. But we're looking at skills like the major skills here: Lightning Storm, Enhanced Duration, Chance to Immobilize, Shred. I mean, got an overall buff, all 3 stages. We got Wolves, cooldown reduction. Hurricane, base damage increase. Look at this base damage increase from 97.5 to 134% damage. Druid, especially like Wind Druids, you know, who were fan of Wind Druids in Diablo 2, this is exciting right here. And then of course you got buffs to the ultimate skills. Rabies got increased for Poison Wolf. This is something that, you know, I theory crafted a lot in the beta. Druids also got buffs to Keystone passives, which I think they're actually the only class in this balance, this mega patch, that got changes to Keystones: Bestial Rampage and Nature's Fury. And then of course the legendary aspects: Rune Worker's Conduit, Mangled, Seismic Shift, and Blurred Beast. I don't know what Blurred Beast is, but it got a decent buff to it, I think. A 10%, you know, min to max is pretty cool. Necromancer. Now again, like I stated earlier, there isn't no note on the visibility, but you did get buffs to Sever, Blood Lance, Bone Prison cooldown reduction, Iron Maiden, Corpse Tendrils. I thought this one was interesting. Blight Corpse Tendrils, chance to spawn a blood orb increased by 5% from 30 to 35%. But Bone Spikes got a 40% damage buff. And here's the most interesting one: Raised Skeleton and Raised Golem minions will now always engage targets with a cast curse. And here are flat passive increases, not keystone passives, but just normal passives, I believe. And then legendary aspects: Flesh Rending, Bursting Bone, and Fast Blood. Rogue is definitely the most disappointing in the entire patch, unfortunately. But again, aside from the basic skills, Barrage got a 2% damage increase. I don't think this is enough. I do not think 2% damage increase will take Barrage and put it at the top, especially when you're trying to fight the meta, and the meta is clearly Twisting Blades. And then we got some Caltrops and Smoke Grenade reductions here, but Rain of Arrows cooldown was reduced by another 5 seconds as well. Maybe we'll see some viable Rain of Arrow builds with Preparation and Word of Hakan. Close quarters combat. So I was wrong. We do have another keystone buff here. Close quarters combat damage increase from 20% to 30%. A huge change to Umbrus, which gives us an extra 10% min and extra 10% max. Lucky hit chance to gain a Dark Shroud. And then Eyes in the Dark. This is a unique pair of pants that would increase our death trap cooldown, but now it's actually reducing the top end from 30 to 20%. And then the end off of this video and the patch recap here, we have Sorceress. And Sorceress, they have some pretty significant changes to 4 big core skills. Incinerate, which I don't think would be extremely viable in endgame still since it's channeled. I would be surprised if somebody didn't build an Incinerate build for Echo Lilith, but we also have Fireball mana decrease by 15, so maybe we'll see some AoE Fireball builds. We have Frozen Orb. Frozen Orb has always been one of my favorite builds in Diablo in general, and I think this could be viable, especially when they have great aspects. Initial base damage, explosion base damage, both were increased, and then the chance to apply vulnerable with greater Frozen Orb increased by 5%. North War is probably a static right now. Maybe he'll actually one-shot Lilith on both phases with a 10% base damage increase to Blizzard. They had 5 aspect changes: Abundant Energy, Singed Extremities, Incinerary, Snow Guards, and Concentration, and they also had 2 buffs to their weapons. Flame Scar, flat damage increase, and Staff of Lam, damage reduction reduced from 30% or 40 to 30% to 35 to 25%. So yeah, again, like I said in the beginning, I will link the patch notes in the description so you can take a look at everything else and just really go over your class. And until next time, amigos, I hope everybody enjoys the mega patch and all the new changes, and take care.